Okay, let's talk about Lori Vallow Daybell. There's a handful there. So what I've done is this. I've taken that interview she did on Nightline with Keith, and I've broken it down almost sentence by sentence so we can look at that from a body language perspective and get a better idea of what's happening psychologically there. So I think you'll find this very interesting because it is a fantastic example of a histrionic personality type. Really good. You're going to like this.
Apparently they have to stay on.
They do?
Go figure.
Yeah. I talked to my hands, so it's going to be a little different.
Perfect. This is her intro to the interview. And she's showing him, because she's never met Keith before, that she's lighthearted and this is going to be fun and she wants it to go well. Really manipulative when you think about it. When you see this as we go along, you'll say, oh, I get it now.
I'm in trial coming up, as you know. Do you know that, Keith?
Oh, I know
Are you
that.
keeping track?
Oh, yeah, I'm keeping track.
In this one, obviously, she's trying to take control and show her dominance in the situation. So she says his name, which is normal for that personality type. And then she asks him a question that sort of belittles him a little bit. Are you keeping track? Are you keeping up? He handles it very well. Very well.
I'm in trial coming up, as you know. Do you know that, Keith?
Oh, I know
Are you keeping
that.
track?
Oh, yeah, I'm keeping track. You're the most hated mom in America.
I heard that. And we all know what the media does. And they exaggerate everything and they make stuff up and they twist things around. So
This is a great example of the clinical narcissist protecting the ego. The histrionic personality type doesn't want anything to be their fault. If they've done something wrong, it's not their fault. Same thing with a high-end clinical narcissist, which is basically what you're talking about here in a nutshell with that personality type. And you know the media, they twist things, they turn things, they lie, and that's why I'm here. Not because of something I did, because I didn't do it. That's her take on this, right? Trying to make you think that. Now, when I got these videos, they were the worst quality in the world. But Ashley Banfield got a hold of me and said, hey, listen, come do our podcast. And I said, yeah, I'll come do that. I do her show on News Nation quite often. And one of her producers, Lindsay, said, well, here are the videos. And they were great quality. And I said, hey, listen, can I use these videos too? And they're like, yeah, you can use these videos, no problem. So if you want to see a different breakdown of the same stuff we're watching here over on Ashley's podcast, I'll put a link below. And Ashley and Lindsay, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I could do it, but the quality would just be ugh. So thank you for the videos.
You're the most hated mom in America.
I heard that. And we all know what the media does. And they exaggerate everything and they make stuff up and they twist things around. So I hear stuff from my family that's like, oh, somebody does a blog about you every day or something. I'm like, how could they do a blog every day? It's been like 5 years. It's mind-blowing.
No,
It's mind-blowing.
a lot happened.
Mm-hmm. Tragedies in my life. So the media loves to take tragedies and turn them into crimes, turn them into horrible things. And I had a lot of tragedies in a row, like a domino effect.
She's pretty much doing the same thing here, except for she's severity softening. That's when you talk about the horrible thing you did, but you don't make it sound horrible. You lighten it up a little bit. She talks about these murders and things that happen as tragedies.
Tragedies in my life. So the media loves to take tragedies and turn them into crimes, turn them into horrible things. And I had a lot of tragedies in a row, like a domino effect.
You know, so yeah, it's a lot worse than that. But that's severity softening. When you speak to someone, when you're talking to somebody, interrogating them about, let's say they committed a murder, they killed somebody, then what you do is you don't say, oh, when you killed this person. You say, when this happened, or when it happened, or when the accident. You say anything but the hardcore word murder or kill. You don't say that. You soften a little bit so it doesn't seem as bad to them. It is as bad. Nothing really changes, but psychologically in that little amount of time, it makes it easier to talk about because you're not coming on with, hey, you murdered somebody.
Do you remember the first meeting with Chad?
Absolutely.
What was that like?
That was amazing.
Tell me about it.
It was amazing because the veil was once again opened and we remembered each other.
The veil was once again open? Really? So what she's doing here, she's not giving any details. What he's asking her is, tell me about meeting this guy. What happened? He wants to hear her say, well, I was at so-and-so party or so-and-so restaurant or club or whatever, wedding, whatever it was. And I was over here and so-and-so introduced us. That's how we met. None of that. It's all this really vague, mysterious stuff to make it sound special, like it was a big deal. Also, let's pay attention to how still she is. Not a lot going on there. A little bit of adapting with the hands. And adapting is when you are trying to get rid of that built up stress and tension. So you're pacifying yourself by doing these repetitive motions. And that's what she's doing with her hands. Pretty much she's been very illustrative, however you'd say grammatically correct. When you illustrate, that's when your brain is emphasizing specific words and phrases, like I did just then, specific words and phrases. And even though she's handcuffed, she's been doing that quite well. None of that here. She's very still. She gets quiet. When she's describing this guy and meeting him, doesn't sound like a very exciting event either, does it?
Do you remember the first meeting with Chad?
Absolutely.
What was that like?
That was amazing.
Tell me about it.
It was amazing because the veil was once again opened and we remembered each other. I recognized him spiritually. He recognized me spiritually, that we had known each other for eternities.
That's cult leader talk. That's what happens. That's the kind of terminology they use. Oh, I recognize you from past, yeah, come on. We've been connected forever, really.
He recognized me spiritually, that we had known each other for eternities.
And for her body language there, she got that head thrown back, like she's being all dominant and everything. And quite often when you see the chin comes out like that, that suggests anger or aggressiveness toward that person. That's a weird combination of body language cues we're seeing all wrapped in that really short spot there.
I recognized him spiritually. He recognized me spiritually, that we had known each other for eternities.
So when Chad came along and said you're a goddess and you've lived for, since the beginning of time, and
Who
so is
said
he.
that Chad said that? Are you saying that Chad said that?
No,
Did you hear Chad say that to me? You've heard a lot of stuff, Keith, and I'm here to say you've heard a lot of stuff, but what I tell you will be the truth.
Here she's shutting down his line of questioning because she doesn't want to answer that or doesn't want to get detailed about it. That's why she's getting so big and so loud and trying to run him over. Now, granted, you're dealing with a professional interviewer of murderers and psychopaths and any kind of personality type you can imagine. So he's good at that. As we go through this, pay attention to when he gets quiet, when he shuts up. He'll get ready to say something. She'll start talking automatically, man, zips it, because he knows the more that person says, the better off things are going to be. Same thing. This guy would have made a great interrogator. He couldn't, maybe not take it on that laid back style like that, but he knows when to ask a question. He knows how hard to go in with a question, and he knows when to zip it. And those are the three most important things pretty much when it comes to an interrogation. So he does a great job at that. But there are some points that come up that I'll point him out where she starts trying to run over him, but he keeps going and she gives up the information. Ooh, he's so good at this. Again, not a lot of illustrating with her hands. She's handcuffed, but her head sure does a whole lot of illustrating, doesn't it? Kind of odd, don't you think?
So when Chad came along and said you're a goddess and you've lived for, since the beginning of time, and
Who
so is
said
he.
that Chad said that? Are you saying that Chad said that?
No,
Did you hear Chad say that to me? You've heard a lot of stuff, Keith, and I'm here to say you've heard a lot of stuff, but what I tell you will be the truth.
Does Jesus visit you often here?
Jesus visits all of us. He's a very good friend of mine. He loves everybody. I'm just his favorite.
You're his favorite?
No, I'm just teasing. It was a joke. Can I joke with you, Keith? Can we joke?
Yes, of course you can.
That's my bumper sticker. I said, if I ever had a bumper sticker, it would say, Jesus loves you, but I'm his favorite.
This is a great clip because let's pay attention to how she speaks and how fast she talks, which is her cadence, the sound of her voice, the tone, and how loud it is, the volume. Cadence, voice, tone, and volume. Those are three very important things when you are listening to someone give you an answer or you're in an interrogation and someone's talking to you. You ask them a question. It may be the answer, but they may just be discussing something. But listen to the changes in that because this is a great example of how those change dramatically. The very first of this, her cadence, voice, tone, and volume, everything's really small. Her voice is very soft. She has what's called fading facts, where at the end of her sentences, the volume gets lower. And she'll talk and then it'll go lower like that.
He's a very good friend of mine. He loves everybody. I'm just his favorite.
That usually happens when that person that's talking is not, they don't feel good about their answer. They're unsure about the answer. They're insecure with it. Or they're just lying. They're being deceptive. So you got to make the decision about that part on this. But the second part of this, where she's talking about Jesus and how she's his favorite, listen to how loud she gets. Listen to how fast she talks. Listen to her tone of voice. Everything goes up.
It was a joke. Can I joke with you, Keith? Can we joke?
Yes, of course you can.
That's my bumper sticker. I said, if I ever had a bumper sticker, it would say, Jesus loves you, but I'm his favorite.
great example of that because it happens in a very short amount of time. And that doesn't happen very often, that dramatically. It happens, but not that dramatically. Then she says that little line about Jesus loves you, but I'm his favorite. I've said that like 9 times on the behavior panel channel. I say it all the time. So she didn't think that up. That's not new. It's very common. And what's supposed to be happening there is, which is what she doesn't get, is you're Jesus's favorite. I'm Jesus. Everybody's Jesus's favorite. Everybody can say that. Jesus loves you, but I'm his favorite. That's why it's so funny. She doesn't get that. She thinks it means something completely different, like she's the one. That's the impression I get anyway.
Does Jesus visit you often here?
Jesus visits all of us.
Uh-huh.
He's a very good friend of mine.
Uh-huh.
He loves everybody. I'm just his favorite.
You're his favorite?
No, I'm just teasing. It was a joke. Can I joke with you, Keith? Can we joke?
Yes, of course you
That's
can.
my bumper sticker. I said, if I ever had a bumper sticker, it would say, Jesus loves you, but I'm his favorite. Everyone has a time when they live, and everyone has a time when they're going to go back to home, to heaven.
I see.
So it's kind of the idea of like, you go off to college, learn a bunch of things, have experiences. That's what life is. And then you go home.
That's a short, tight, concise explanation for a concept that's really huge. That was laid out to her, that talked her into coming into the cult, but she really doesn't know how to explain it in detail. That's why it sounds like that. That's why I'm under the impression, or one of the reasons I'm under the impression, she's not intellectually gifted. She's not the smartest person in that room anyway, for sure. So that's the way people that aren't gifted, anyway, that's the way somebody not very smart would explain a huge concept like that. Just put out those big, huge points and let that be it and move on. And that's what she's done here.
No foul play at all, she said. Perfectly innocent.
Tammy died of natural causes. Tammy knows the truth. I love her and she loves me. We've been friends for eternities.
Yes, and nowadays, Tammy comes to visit her in jail, said Lori.
This is a great example of eye blocking. And what we do when we eye block, we'll either hear something that we don't want to hear or something we don't agree with, like a really bad graphic joke in the wrong company, or somebody will start doing something and you're like, ugh. And a lot of times people will block their eyes. Why we do that, who knows? Because like I've said on here before, but if you're new, I'll tell you the story. There was a guy named Doc Watson, guitar player, really famous guitar player, and he was my dad's best friend. And when they'd hang out, when we'd all eat supper at the house, and the women would get up and leave the table, my brother or I would start in with a horrifically graphic joke because Doc was blind. And when we do that, he didn't know they'd left. It sounds horrible, but he was the funniest guy in the world, and he loved it once it dawned on him what was happening. And he would cover his eyes. Not that somebody's been blind. He did go blind when he was a little baby. Okay. But still, little children who didn't go blind when they were little, they're born that way, they still block their eyes. Adults who were born blind, they still block their eyes when they hear something they don't agree with or get in a situation where information is coming in they don't want to hear. They'll block their eyes. Now, in this case, she's saying something and blocking her eyes. She's talking about the situation where this girl, Tammy, died, and she says it's natural causes. And I'm under the impression that she's the one that caused that. So maybe she's reliving that or seeing that picture in her mind, doesn't want to see it, and so that's why she's eye blocking. Even though it's in her mind, she still closes her eyes. Or she doesn't want to say it, and that's why she closes her eyes. So as she's supposed to be looking at Keith. Then on the other hand, you can talk about someone talking about a dead person coming to talk to him all the time like she is, and that's either, in my opinion, schizophrenia or horse.
Tammy died of natural causes. Tammy knows the truth. I love her and she loves me. We've been friends for eternities.
Yes, and nowadays, Tammy comes to visit her in jail, said Lori. What was the relationship with Chad all about anyway?
My husband?
Yeah.
My
And by
husband
the
that
way,
I've been
everybody-
married to for 5 years?
Sure. And everybody calls you Lori Vallow. Does that bother you?
It doesn't bother me, but I'm Lori Daybell.
When he asks if that bothers her and she does this and her head goes back, it bothers her. It bothers her. She's trying to pretend like it doesn't. That's what's happening. She turtles a little bit. That head gets a squishing back like that, and she's retreating from that. No, it bothers her.
And you bought the wedding rings.
That is
Before.
an untrue statement. You don't know what you're talking about on that one. Mm-mm.
It's online. The purchase is there. And then we see the video of those very rings on your fingers and that ceremony on the beach.
Those rings were not initially bought for us. So get your facts straight, Keith,
Who were they
before
bought
you
for?
start making accusations. See, you don't know.
Who were they
You
bought
don't have
for?
any idea because you've heard all these rumors.
You're going to tell me who they were bought for.
Rumor has it
Who were they bought for, if not you?
Alex and Zulema initially.
Her cadence, voice tone, and volume click into defense mode. That's why she's so loud. That's why she's talking so fast. She's trying to talk over him to derail that question. Then she gets what's called the bobblehead. Notice how when she's saying yes and no and her head's moving around like that. So when that happens, that suggests that denotes the person's probably being dishonest. They're probably lying, or they really don't know what they're talking about. That's why you get the back and forth and the up and down, that little round thing happening when it's going in a little circle. She doesn't know the answer to this. She can't answer it correctly. At the same time, that lets us know she's got inner dialogue going on. And what that means is when she's giving those first little answers and she's being real loud, her cadence, voice tone, and volume have gone up so high, she's thinking at the same time because she's hoping what's coming out of her mouth is going to work. And if it isn't, she's got to think about something else to make that sound more believable. So if he comes back with something else, she's thinking not in the front part of her brain, but right back here, she's thinking, I'm going to be able to protect this. I've got to be able to answer anything else that comes along. What's wrong with this? I didn't get a chance to go through it and see what's wrong with it, but I've got to protect whatever's wrong. I've got to defend that. Then she tries to shut him down again, getting loud. She's got that chin out, the whole thing, because she can't defend this. And so she's coming at it from a child's defense point. This is what it sounds like when you hear a parent talking to a child and they're arguing. That's what it sounds like. 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old. That's what they sound like.
So get your facts straight, Keith,
Who were they
before
bought
you
for?
start making accusations. See, you don't know.
Who were they
You
bought
don't have
for?
any idea because you've heard all these rumors.
You're going to tell me who they were bought for.
Rumor has it
Who were they bought for, if not you?
Alex and Zulema initially.
Time and again during our interview, Lori assured us that while others lie about her, she was telling us the absolute truth.
I'm trying to give you the truth and you really don't want to hear it. So you want the truth want the truth that you already think you know. I'm the person it happened with. I'm the only one who knows the truth. And I'm trying to give it, but if you don't want to hear it, I will be happy to be quiet.
2 or 3 things I want to cover here. First off, let's talk about why she's shaking her head no while she's giving an answer. This is illustrating. Quite often people think when you're shaking your head no, as you're saying yes, it means you're lying. Nope. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does, but not in this situation because she's using her head as an illustrator. No, I did not. Notice how her words are hitting on every time she shakes her head. That's important. But then it does go to this because that's a confirmation nod. She's saying, yes, this is happening or whatever. So just because someone shakes their head no while they're saying something that's supposed to be a yes doesn't mean they're lying. Now, when it does suggest that is they say, yes, and their head keeps going just a little bit, then you've got something happening there, okay? Not very often is it yes, because you're going, yeah, it's in time with what's happening because that's your brain emphasizing those words, that phrase. So keep that in mind. Remember that when you deal with body language, you can't throw these blanket statements out. When this happens, this always means this. There's nothing in body language that always means the same thing. Nothing, ever. These go along with clusters of behaviors. Okay? You have to see 2 or 3 things, and then you start making your mind, you make decisions about what you're seeing. You hear a lot of people on the internet start giving this stuff where this always means this and this means this, not suggests, not denotes, because it just suggests that. It doesn't mean that for sure. Remember that. I know you hear a lot of people say that, the opposite of what I'm saying, but that's true. Okay, please pay attention to that. I promise you, your study of human behavior will go forward so much quicker, and you'll have so much better information than everybody else. If you view it that way, you'll be so much better at it. And when you gather valid information, please do that. Please focus on that. It's very important to do that. So remember, just because you shake your head no doesn't mean, when you're saying yes, doesn't mean that you're lying. As well, she's trying to, once again, derail this thing, derail that question so she doesn't have to answer it because she doesn't have the good answer for it, right? Remember I talked earlier about Keith? I'm going to call him Keith because I feel like I know him, never met him. But he's doing a great job because notice how he almost says something.
Yeah. You want this, and I'm trying to.
And then she starts talking and he stops real quick. That's an art. It doesn't seem like it. But I promise you, that's tough to do when somebody's acting that way because you just want to run over him too. And you want to butt heads with him. It's tough, but he's doing a great job. Watch how he does that. Listen to how it happens. He knows how to do this. He's really good at it.
I'm trying to give you the truth and you really don't want to hear it. So you want the truth that want the truth that you already think you know. I'm the person it happened with. I'm the only one who knows the truth. And I'm trying to give it, but if you don't want to hear it, I will be happy to be quiet. I never spank my children.
Fine.
I don't yell at my children. I only use love and logic with my children, right? I want to build them up. I want to help them because of what I learned in heaven. Tylee's very smart, very sassy. She knows how to push your buttons. She knows what to say.
Gotcha.
I was able to be very peaceful with Tylee. I was able to be patient with Tylee because I watched her suffer so much.
All right.
Okay. And I knew she was not going to live forever because you know that you can die of pancreatitis anytime you have it.
Of course, yes.
She had it
This is odd because she's talking about the children that she killed in the present tense, like they're still with us.
I never spank my children.
Fine.
I don't yell at my children. I only use love and logic with my children.
And they're not. And she knows they're not. She still talks about them like she's still doing these things. And again, what is this called? A resume statement.
Right? I want to build them up. I want to help them because of what I learned in heaven.
She's talking about these wonderful things she's done and what a good person she is because she believes this and that's why she does it. She's showing you this resume of wonderful things that she's doing for her children all the time now. And they've been gone for a little while. So this is start turning into crazy talk.
She was not going to live forever because you know that you can die of pancreatitis anytime you have it.
Of course, yes.
She had it
So what is the histrionic personality type? Well, it's characterized by a pattern of excessive emotionality and attention-seeking behavior. People like this, quite often, they feel uncomfortable when they're not the center of attention, and they'll display these big, dramatic, lively, or even flirtatious behaviors. It's one of the personality disorders in the cluster B group, and that includes disorders that are characterized by dramatic, overly emotional thinking or behavior. I don't like to sound technical on here, but you got to know that when we're going to be talking about something this specific.
Meanwhile, Lori dodged questions about the wreckage in her own life.
We have Tylee, we have
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
we have Chad's wife, we have the attempted murder on Brandon, we have, there's a lot of
to my
mayhem.
life. There's a lot to my life.
Sure.
If you want to hear the actual explanations, I'm here.
There's a
But
big
it
long
doesn't
explanation.
sound like you really want a lot
I
of the
do, but
actual explanations.
I don't have all week to hear all these explanations.
Well, it's going to take a long time, so it's probably going to take more than one session.
Uh-huh.
There's that flirtatious behavior again. She's still trying to get him to like her. This thing's going to wrap up soon, and she knows it. So she really wants him to like her because she knows once he gets out of here with this stuff, it's probably not going to make it look very good.
Why did Chad label your children dark and then,
That is all.
call them zombies? You're saying that didn't happen?
Did you hear him say that?
Well, no, but others did.
I didn't.
Oh, I see. But that would be a pattern that he would label people dark and then they would either die or somebody would have an attempt on their life.
No,
And
that's the narrative that you've been running.
Sounds to me like that's what this guy Chad would tell her if he wanted her to kill somebody. Hey, they look kind of dark to me. Apparently she would do it. I guess. I don't know. That's what it sounds like anyway. And the narrative, quote unquote, is exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. So there's not much there for her defense.
That he would label people dark and then they would either die or somebody would have an attempt on their life.
No,
And
that's the narrative that you've been running.
Once again, we're seeing something that's very familiar. Everything from the neck down is very still. Why is that? If we look at her baseline, which we have a pretty good idea of what it is now in this situation, when she's being dishonest, when she's being deceptive, nothing from the neck down moves very much at all. And even though they're not showing a full body shot, you can tell there's nothing happening from there down. It's just her head moving a lot as she's talking and getting louder, trying to defend that, right? And the narrative isn't just the narrative. That's what happened. What he's talking about, know what the narrative is? That's what happened. So it's tough to defend that, and that's why she's having such a hard time with it.
Were you there the night that Tylee died? Were you there the night that JJ died?
Was I
Was
where?
Alex in these places when they died? In the place where they died, were you there?
What place was that?
Did you watch?
What place was that?
Do
you have any idea?
I'm asking.
Well, I'm the
Doesn't
only
really
one that
matter.
knows. Do you know? You're pretending like you
It
know.
doesn't matter. I'm not pretending I know. I'm asking you a question. Did you watch your children die?
That's a really sad question.
It's a terrible question, and it's one I hate to have to ask. But I mean, we've been talking about all of
I
these.
was not there, as you know. I told Colby.
You did not kill a soul.
Absolutely
You didn't
not.
participate in killing a soul.
No.
You didn't conspire to kill a soul.
Correct.
You didn't do any of those things you've been convicted of doing.
Correct.
Almost every piece of body language we've talked about here, almost every cue is in that one clip. Think about the beginning of it, how big and loud and everything's moving around. Think about the second part of the clip where things have calmed down. She shows fading facts. Remember when you get quieter when you're telling something that isn't true, or you're being deceptive, or you're not sure about that answer? We see that on the key parts of that, the key moments of that answer, right? Then at the beginning, we saw her head going back. She's hollering, everything's moving around. Not here. Everything got very still. What happens when she gets still? That's usually when we know now from knowing the answer she's given her lies that she's lying. So here, obviously, she's lying. She was there. I think I'm under the impression she was there when those things happened, and she's trying to pretend like she wasn't, and it isn't working, not even a little bit, because her body language is telling us everything. Her behavior is telling us everything. Even though she's a histrionic personality type, she's still following those cues that humans follow. She's still doing those things that humans do. She's still doing those things that come to us naturally as an animal when we lie about something, or we're not sure about something, or when we're overconfident about something, right? Or we don't want to give an answer. We're seeing eye blocking in there. Do you notice that?
Did you watch your children die?
That's a really sad question.
It's a terrible question, and it's one I hate to have to ask. But I mean, we've been talking about all of these.
I was not there, as you know. I told Colby.
You did not kill a soul.
Absolutely
You didn't
not.
participate in killing a soul.
No.
You didn't conspire to kill a soul.
Correct.
You didn't do any of those things you've been convicted of doing.
Correct.
All right, there you have it. Lori Vallow Daybell. Wow, she's a handful, but that's what that personality type, the histrionic personality type, is like. All right, if you have any suggestions of things you want me to look at, just email them to me or put them in the comments because I read all the comments. All right, see you next time.